And thank you, Leah. Love you too. It is happy, or Chog, Taruw'ah, Yom Taruw'ah, as we celebrate this marvelous day that Yahweh has conceived as part of his 7 Moed Mikra. If you look at that menorah that is spinning over my left shoulder, or the one that is over my right shoulder here, there are 7 candles on that menorah, and each of them represents one of the Moed Mikra, these invitations to meet with God, to be called out of this world by the restoring witnesses. This is what a Moed Mikra represents. The 5th of those 7 is Taruw'ah, and Taruw'ah is today. It is a marvelous celebration, maybe the most magnificent of the 7 Moed Mikra. Would never have thought that this day represented so many wonderful events, but it does. If we look back in time, it was now 4,000 years ago that Abraham, as part of the narrative that forms the covenant, was asked to take Yishak up Mount Moryah. It was a 3-day walk, which 3 days is important because Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim play out over 3 days. It's the same 3 days that would designate the beginning of the Exodus, where the first day is the doorway to life. The second day is the removal from religious and political corruption. And the third day is to be part of God's family on Bikurim. And so here now, 4,000 years ago, when Yahweh asked Abraham, which means merciful father, to take Yishak, which means laughter and play, up Mount Moryah, which means to revere and respect Yah, after a 3-day walk. You have Yishak asking his father, and Abraham means merciful father. We've got the fire, we've got the wood. Where's the lamb for the offering? Obviously, they were going up to celebrate Passover. And Abraham constantly said, Yahweh is going to provide the lamb. And when they got to the top and it was ready, time to actually perform the dress rehearsal for the sacrifice of Yom Kippurim, of Pesach, of Passover, we have Yahweh intervening and saying, "No, do not take the life of your son, your only son, whom you love," because Yahweh was going to provide his son, his only son, whom he loves, as the Passover lamb. And of course, that son is Dowd David. He was caught by his horns, which is symbolic of being a king, symbolic of being radiant. Koren means to radiate light, and it speaks of the horns of a king. And it is Dowd whom Yahweh says is going to come back as king in just 8 years from now, on Yom Kippurim in 6000 Yah, 33 CE, to be king of the universe, and he will be as brilliant as the sun when he returns. So Dowd, when he wrote his essay on the Torah, the 119th Mizmor, he came to realize that it was indeed he who should serve as the Passover lamb. After all, he had already heard Yahweh refer to him as his beloved son. Yahweh even referred to him as his Bakor, his firstborn. And so Dowd recognized that was the role he should play. And he even went so far as to realize why it was in his interest to volunteer to be the Passover lamb. And it's when you recognize what Dowd and Yisrael and Yahweh all gained by him serving in this way and enduring those 2 brutal days, which would have been Pesach, where he was crucified by the beast of Rome, and then Matzah, where he took our guilt and carried it into Sheol, hell, to deposit it there, never to be seen again, to perfect us. So then he was released as the Bakor, firstborn, for Bikurim, firstborn children, to establish the Bereth, covenant relationship. That by enduring those 2 days, he would be respected forevermore. Now, it didn't work out that way initially. Yisrael turned on Dowd. They denied that he was the Son of God, denied that he was the Messiah, denied that he was the returning king. and most certainly denied that he was the Savior. There is no rabbi in the world that understands that Dowd fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim in his second of three lives in 33 CE, even though Dowd wrote two songs, specifically of how he was going to be crucified. Talking about crucifixion almost 1,000 years before that torment even existed. And that he also gave Daniel the exact date that he would fulfill Chog Matzah, to the specific day that Chog Matzah would be fulfilled in year 4000 Yah by himself, which is 33 CE. So we all should have known, but I was the first to announce that Dowd is indeed the Passover lamb, that he is the one who took our guilt into Sheol, hell on Matzah, and that he is the firstborn son of God who fulfilled firstborn children, all in 33 CE, which is year 4000 Yah. But as we move through the Moed Mekre, we come next to Shabuwa. Shabuwa actually is a Bikurim harvest, which means all of those who are harvested on Shabuwa will be the beneficiaries of what Dowd accomplished by fulfilling Chog Matzah, which includes Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim. It is a wheat's harvest of standing and mature grain. And it's a plural of wheats, and there are 2 loaves of bread that are waved, symbolic of the fact that this harvest will be of both Goyim and of Yisraelites, and it is upcoming. The Shabuwa that designates the beginning of the time of troubles, that's 7 years before Yahowah and Dowd return, is the 22nd of May in 2026, just 8 months from now. And the harvest of Shabuwa, this Qatsyr of Shabuwa, will take place the following year, also on a Shabbat, the 11th of June of 2027. These are the next events to be fulfilled on that spinning menorah that you see, with Shabuwa being the center candle. And in this regard, while Dowd was the ultimate Zahorwah, the sacrificial lamb, Zahorwah is based on zera, which means to plant and to cultivate seeds for a productive harvest. There is a final Zahorwah, and he is the one cultivating these harvests so that you know what you need to do if you wish to participate. Now that brings us to this day that we're celebrating now. This is 8 Taruw'ah, prior to the ultimate fulfillment. I see that we have Wookie sitting there as a really good student of this. Wookie is going to be part of all of these things. He has always participated in Passover with us, and will be.
He even eats matzah. That's true.
He eats matzah and
Loves
olive
matzah.
oil with the bitter herbs, and he loves his lamb, and he listens to more of these shows probably than anyone other than myself, Leah, and Rich, and Kevin. He's probably right in that top group. Okay, Wookie, we're bragging about you here. So the reality is that I don't think we even have pictures of Wookie here on that camera being. There we go. There's Leah with the Wookmeister. So that brings us to Taruw'ah. This day, we're 8 Taruw'ah, which is the symbol of infinity, away from the final fulfillment of Taruw'ah. It will be fulfilled on the 23rd and 24th of September of 2033. This day is not Rosh Hashanah, which is what the rabbis have corrupted it to being. Rabbis have got to be the most annoying, dim-witted Fleabags, yeah, Fleabags. In the universe. No, this is not Rosh Hashanah. No. It is not the start of the year. It's the 7th month. God tells us it is the 7th month of the year, and so it cannot be the first month of the year. And Rosh Hashanah happens to be head of the year, and it's a Babylonian calendar. And so the Jews that celebrate this are back in Babylon, which is a really bad idea. Because
back in Babylon, who's to say we ever left?
That's right. Because the last thing that God asks his people to do is walk out of Babylon, my people, and they still have not done that. And of course, they think they're celebrating their high holy days when Chole in Hebrew is diseased, and they are anticipating a day of atonement when they curse and demean their own souls and wallow in their guilt, when in fact Kippurim is the day of reconciliation. It's the day that Yahowah and the Messiah Dowd are returning in 2033. And it is the ultimate celebration. None of the rabbis, however, and no Haredim, no ultra-Orthodox Jew, no ultra-religious or political Jew will be there to see their return. So if you're religious or political, whether you're Goyim or Jewish, and you are anticipating the return of the Messiah, you will not be there. You will be absolutely precluded. There will be no one who is overtly religious and political at this event. Now, to prepare Israel to do something that Israel has not done in 3,450 years. That's a long time. And that is to be in the presence of Yahweh. Something extraordinary has to occur. And that's why Taruw'ah is such a special day. Not only is there the last gleaning of olives, that would be of Israelites and Yehudim. It's 2 or 3 Yehudim from the uppermost branches and 4 or 5 from the branches that have been cut away. On the evening, which is a Friday evening, the 23rd of September 2033, will be harvested, and they'll be harvested the old-fashioned way. It's a stick, and I happen to be the choder, which is a stick that is whacking the tree to get them to let go and to receive the benefits of the covenant. And those who do will be a river of light going to heaven. But to do so, they will have had to have accepted the 5 terms and conditions of the covenant, and they will have to have benefited from Pesach, Matzah, and Bekurim. And so this will be a special event for that purpose. But it is what happens that night and early the next morning that's so extraordinary. And what is going to happen that night is that Israel will witness 4 chariots arrive in Jerusalem. The first of those 4 chariots that's going to arrive is red. And it is for the man in red, a man from Edom, who is the Adamah Parah, this bloody red man of the earth, who is a productive bull. And it's not going anywhere because, well, he is not going anywhere. It reminds me of that day so long ago. We were just
where you think you're going.
One another. Asher had just come to us and
was a puppy.
Yeah, we were a puppy, and you were asking. So come Taruw'ah, what's going to happen with Asher?
Yeah, what's going to happen with our pets?
His immediate answer was, so where do you think you're going? Later we would find out. The fact is, I'm not going anywhere. I happen to be the sacrifice for that day. Yes, I will literally lay down my physical body to prepare Israel to enter the presence of Yahweh and your king, Dowd. And so this is the day that Elia, who is the returning witness, he was chosen for this, not only because of his soliloquy, but because of his
sharp-witted
practice.
Tongue.
Yeah, he does have a great tongue. He's exceedingly sarcastic, and Yahweh loves sarcasm.
Oh, yeah.
It's intelligent humor. But he was actually chosen for this for a different reason. And that is, he is the only person who has practiced at doing what needs to be done. His speech,
burning a bull.
His speech will be, before you even get to the bull that is being sacrificed, you get to the fact that the thing that needs to be purged from Israel is the same thing he purged 2,888 years.
Politics and religion.
And that is religion and politics from Israel. He was the most effective of all of Yahweh's prophets at exposing and condemning the religious and political establishment. And as a matter of fact, he's going to have exactly the same effect. Anyone who is still overtly religious and political in Israel, or any Jew that is overtly religious and political around the world, will cease to exist at this event. Now, there are 3 other chariots. One is the black chariot. It's perfectly colored, or lack of color
for the religious.
In the case of black, to pick up the men in black, which would be the Haredi and the ultra-Orthodox, these parasites who are so disgusting to God. And anybody that boards that black chariot, it is a ride into Sheol. It is over for them. They will never breathe another breath. They have annoyed God to the last moment, and they will have no other options going forward. They are taken directly to Sheol in the black chariot. There is a white chariot, and it will canvass the world for all Jews who are considered by the heavenly hosts that are in that, directing that chariot, by Yahweh's Ruach, to not be misleading, but to have been misled. They have been misled politically, they've been misled religiously, but they were not engaged in misleading. So they would be, if you were to study Numbers 15, they were guilty of crimes of omission, not commission, and there's a very significant difference from Yahweh. It's one thing to be misled, and for that there is restitution. But if you're among those who misleads others religiously and politically and takes them away from Yahweh, as the rabbis have done, for example, there is no remedy for you. You're off to Sheol at this point. So that white chariot is going to bring the entire remaining remnant of Jews from around the world to join those that are in Jerusalem on this day, Taruw'ah, 8 years from now, the 24th of September, 2033, year 6000 Yah. And if you wonder why the rabbinic calendar doesn't sync with year 6000 Yah, Rabbi Maimonides is 197 years off. And it's obvious that he's off. He made every mistake you could possibly make. In fact, you just have to be ignorant, deliberately ignorant, woefully
buffoonery,
ignorant, to believe anything Maimonides said. He was wrong about everything. Yeah. And his calendar was based upon the sanctification of the moon and the Islamic magic number of 19.
He was a sycophant for Islam.
Yeah, he was a sycophant for Islam. He was a horrible human being. And I know that Jews damn near worship him, but he is a scumbag. So the rabbinic calendar is 197 years off. It is, we're 8 years
way off
from year 6000 Yah, and we know this not by opinion, but by deduction and absolute fact. So, and if you want to know just how easy it is, if you had actually paid attention to what Dowd said when he provided, I think it's 642 years from 444 BCE to the time that he would fulfill Chog Matzah. You do the math and you come to 33 CE. And if 33 CE is therefore year 4000 Yah, guess what is year 6000 Yah, 2033. And you go back
Not
1,000 years prior to that. Dowd's first life concluded 4 years prior to year 1000 Yah, which was 968 BCE. And in 968 BCE, the cornerstone of the temple was laid and the 89th Mizmor was delivered. And 4 years before it, to signify that he would arrive 4 years before year 4000 Yah to fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim. And you go back 2,000 years before the fulfillment of Chog Matzah in 33 CE, or 1,000 years before the cornerstone of the temple is laid in Jerusalem. You come to this time that I began this program talking about, which is when in 1968 BCE, Abraham and Yishak climbed Mount Moryah to provide the dress rehearsal for Pesach. And if you use the genealogies in the Torah, 2,000 years or 40 Yobel, from that time you reach 3968 BCE, which is when Adam and Chava were excluded from the garden, which is an important date because Yahweh's plan plays out on a formula, everything on 6 + 1. They could have figured this out 6,000 years from 3968 BCE takes you to 2033. And guess what's going to happen on Sukkah, camping out, in 2033? We're allowed back into the garden. The whole earth is transformed back into the conditions in the Garden of Eden that actually takes place on Taruw'ah. It's one of the great festivals and celebrations of Taruw'ah, is that all of those who politically, religiously, and militantly have come to harm Israel will be incinerated at this time. All religious and political and military edifices will be gone at this moment, and the whole earth will be transformed in the conditions experienced in Eden. So the world is now rid of the plague of the influencers
Yeah.
of religion
The
and
plague of
politics.
death,
The
too.
world's celebrating Charlie Kirk, and yet
Ugh.
the Charlie Kirks of the world will all be incinerated at this time because they're annoying to God, and they can't exist as we return to the conditions of Eden. So there'll be no Christians, there'll be no practitioners of the Haredim, there'll be no Muslims left. There'll be no
There'll be
Marxists
no
left either.
isms at all.
No, there'll be no
And-
Marxisms, and it's just over at that point for anyone who is overtly political and religious. And so the world finally will be at peace.
Breathe.
And it's returned to the conditions experienced during Eden, after what really is a horrible experience going into that condition. It's likely that somewhere in the range of 80-90% of the world's population are going to die, and for all manner of effects. I think in particular, year 32 CE is going to be really, really rough from a celestial fireworks. We enter a devastating comet period, and even that slingshot of Apophis could well hit at that time. But we go through the tail of the largest meteor event that has taken place. Really, it was the one that started the last ice age. So it's really a serious series of events. And 32 CE, and the world's going to be engaged in nuclear war, and Israel is going to be dealing with
We're really going to muck it up.
Yeah, Israel itself will be dealing with Alaska flood 2.0. It's 1,000 times worth, 1,000 times more jihadists, 1,000 times the aerial bombardment. And every country surrounding Israel is going to provide both aerial bombardments, weaponry, and jihadists. The prophets say it's the worst time in the history of the world, and that nothing prior to this can even be compared to it. So it's going to be a really rough time. And so when all of that's gone, what a celebration it's going to be. And so the last time that Israel was given the opportunity to be with Yahweh, and I rebuked a very popular poster on X today, but I rebuke him daily because he says so many stupid things. And he was talking about the miracle of Israel and how it's only possible because God is with Jews and Israel. And I said, no, I beg to differ. God begs to differ. God said that when you told him to go away and shut up, that you never wanted to see him or hear from him again. He says, that's fine, I'll do that. And he did. And that he divorced Israel, writing a letter of divorce through Hosea, and said, because of your religiosity, I'm out of here. We have no relationship. You are not my people. I am not your God. You're not my children. We are divorced, period. And then he said that he will not return to Israel until Israel returns to him. And there is not a single Israeli that's using Yahweh's name.
And if there is, please stand up and let me know, because we'd like to talk to you.
Yes.
I will, if I may. Jews know culturally, we all know that Yom Taruw'ah is the day of Yahweh.
Yeah, it's the greatest day in the history of humankind.
Yeah. And Yahweh makes a very big deal of it.
Yeah. Now, I've always looked at Yom Kippurim as the great day of Yahweh because it's a great celebration. But there are so many things that happen on Taruw'ah. Matter of fact, that's why my wife put in all of the stuff that you can see around me. It's the whoop whoop of celebrations here. It is actually my 24th anniversary with Yahweh. 24 years ago today is when Yahweh in 2001 introduced himself to me.
That's a long time, darling.
And said, I want you to do something for me. And we had a little discussion that day.
Young man?
Yeah. Young man. I've always been young man with him. And, now that I'm 70, being called a young man works
quite
with
nice.
Yahweh because he is considerably older than I am. And it just works really well. But that's when he first introduced himself to me. And he said, we're going to began. We're going to do this, then we're going to do that, then we're going to do this other thing. And, it was pretty overwhelming at the time. And, if I knew even 1% of what we were going to do over the next 24 years,
Oh, wow.
I might have had a different response. It's been
No, you
a
wouldn't.
great celebration and a great life. And it's been the most meaningful use of 24 years that could possibly. I don't think there's been a more interesting, memorable, beneficial use of 24 years. And
I think you would choose it again.
What we have,
if you had to
have
rewind.
accomplished. Yeah, it had been too overwhelming. I think I just would have turned into mush at the time. I'm a pretty bold guy, but I probably would have been goo if he laid it all on at one time. Yeah, I was pretty clever in this regard. He's a smart guy. He gives you as much as you can handle.
Yep.
And just when you're
No
comfortable,
more.
just
Yeah.
when you get comfortable with what he has,
He makes you
given
uncomfortable again.
He gives you far more because he knows you can handle far more, and he just keeps on upping the ante. And this relationship started with, I was going to be anonymous, and that didn't last very long. And there's been a lot of challenges along
Actually,
the way.
you had a pretty good run at it for a while.
Yeah. So anyway, this is where we are. It's a big celebration. And on this day, the thing that I was driving towards is that the highlight of the day is the sacrifice of the Adam of Parah. Just like Dowd was stricken and crucified and bludgeoned by the beast, I will be bludgeoned by the beast. This is the incarnate, Satan incarnate. Satan has demon-possessed a man already. We've announced who that is.
T-Rum.
The prophets have been very clear. It is the President of the United States. It is Donald Trump. He is the copper confabulator and literally a demon among men, the worst man who has ever lived.
Vile human being.
A vile human being, sexually perverted and
twisted,
psychopath who doesn't have the capacity to tell the truth. Everything the man says,
empathy, or have empathy, or none of that
is exaggeration, a lie. But that's exactly how the prophets described this Torahless one, who is the son of evil, the great betrayer of Israel. And so it is he and his minions that will be given this opportunity to take my life. They actually don't have a choice in the matter. So Satan is programmed. He's been programmed from the beginning. This is his final act. And he will take my life in a very gruesome way before the eyes of the world. And I will willingly offer it. And then, working with Elia is going to create this major sacrifice, this great funeral pyre to this productive bull, this man from Edom who saves many. And that's going to take place in front of the replica of the tent of the restoring witness. That will be where the Dome of the Rock currently is. That will be destroyed. The view will be unimpaired by Alaska moss. That will also be destroyed. And you will see, if you're there, if you survive to this moment, you're going to see the tent of the restoring witness. You're going to see the altar being placed on the east side of it. The great seats will be on the Mount of Olives. Should you wish to look at this event, God's going to release copious amounts of water from underneath the Temple Mount, and then he's going to ignite the fires. And it is there's going to be a great musical score. You're going to have Elia as the greatest orator of all time. The water dancing, the flame shooting to the heavens. God's people, both purified and those who are deemed unfit to enter the millennial Shabat, who are viewed as untrustworthy. They're going to suffer the downside of what is the Torah prescription of Numbers 5. The Numbers 5 Torah prescription is for to determine who is
lives
qualified and prepared to be in God's presence again, because it's been 3,450 years. To the children of Israel, told him to go away. We never wanted to hear from you or see him again. And then he is going to return, and those people have to be prepared for it. And he's returning with Dowd. And we read in Zechariah 12 that everyone's going to weep as you would weep for a firstborn, knowing that it was Dowd who was pierced, being crucified for them, and how Israel for all of this time has denied that Dowd was the Son of God, that he was the Messiah, and that he was the one who was crucified on Passover in 33 CE. This is
Okay, now slow down.
This is the great day.
Yes. So, my people, this is the great day of Yahweh. And you know it, and I know it. But what happens on this day is a wondrous thing. This is the thing. This is your last chance for romance. Really. I wouldn't miss it.
Yet literally romance, because the symbolism
Yes.
of Numbers 5 is that Israel is being prepared to be betrothed to the groom who wants her back. And that groom is the
Dowd.
king, the returning king, the Messiah. And he is returning. And the beginning of Sukkah, which sometimes is called tents or shelters, it's going to be the chuppah of be the wedding that's going to take place. And so all the symbolism here is of this great wedding with the returning king, Dowd, who is as brilliant as the sun. You've done a numerous number of depictions of Dowd and his bride here. There will be a woman chosen from Israel, the most beautiful woman, and her beauty will be internal. That is going to be wed to Dowd at this moment, symbolizing the entire nation of Israel being restored again. And if you're a goy, there's an opportunity for you, because there's going to be a fourth chariot after the white chariot brings all of the potential Israelites back into Jerusalem. That dappled chariot is going to pick the goyim who
and
have
those
the right
under 20
attitude and aptitude. Well, there's going to be there is a possibility that we'll see a replication of what happened with the spies, where it was everyone over 60 was, over 20 was gone, and those under 20 were allowed to stay. But I actually don't think that that's going to play a major role, and I don't think so for a number of reasons. First of all, I think that anybody, no matter their age, of the remnant of Israel, of that 5 million Jews worldwide that will have survived this, that all of those who are not overtly religious and political, which might be, I don't know, a third of them, because Jews have a tendency to be
we have a big
very
tendency
politically
to be one
active,
or the other.
and they will be disqualified for that. And they're very boisterous politically. They will all be disqualified for that. And they're very religious, and all of the religious will be disqualified. They'll be in the black chariot. So it might be a third of a third of 15 million. So, in the range of 1.6 to 1.7 million could be the total number that are susceptible to this, of all ages. And the only thing of under 20 that might play into this, because that's what played into the story of the spies, is that if you're under 20, you may be at least afforded an opportunity to get into the white chariot. But the consumption of the instruction from Numbers 5, if you're deemed not to be trustworthy, you still won't enter the millennial Shabat.
No.
So that's the opportunity. And we're told explicitly that we will be, and this was in Yirmiyah, I believe, we read it earlier today, that there will be a whole host of us from the covenant that will be responsible for shepherding, for feeding, nurturing this remnant, so that they grow up in a hurry, because they know nothing about Yahweh. They know nothing about the covenant.
They're
they know
clueless.
If they knew anything about any of this, they would have been part of the Taruw'ah harvest. So they know nothing. They are going to be cleansed, but one day old in their understanding of God. And so we have a lot of work to do to prepare them. And so they're not.
Some of them won't even know why they're there.
Yeah, some of them, so they're not complete numbskulls. We have 10 days to get their act together. And then we have that 1,000 years to try to encourage them to accept the terms and conditions of the covenant and enjoy forevermore. So this is an amazing day that Taruw'ah represents. It sets up Yom Kippurim. Yom Kippurim is when Dowd returns as brilliant as the sun, as Elyon, in God's presence, which means the very influence of God. And all things pertaining to his hand and influence, Elyon, and that when he returns, he is sovereign of the universe forevermore. And we will all respect him because we wouldn't be there without him because of his fulfillment of Pesach, Matzah, and Makodim, which is why he volunteered to do it. Yeah. He knows, having studied the Torah, that Moshe, who was a man of great character and intellect, he failed in leading Israel. Yahweh gave up in trying to communicate with Israel, and Dowd in his first of 3 lives gave up as well. That revolt of the Absalom revolt by his son, where almost everyone turned on him, was just too much. So thus far, even with the great prophet Yeshaya, Isaiah, no one has succeeded in being able to get Israel's attention. That is the job. That's why we say, God, if you had told me the full extent of this job, I would not have accepted it. And
we are a wily
embarrassed
bunch.
to say that I wouldn't have accepted, but I wouldn't have accepted it. It's too much. I was been unprepared for that much responsibility. But it's a job that thus far God himself, Moshe and Dowd and Yeshaya did not achieve. They all failed at this job, and God says, now it's yours. And oh, by the way, we can't fail. Now, he has stacked the deck, to his credit. He has provided the 7 spirits of Yahweh. He has never done that before with his Choder. And he has said that it's this time of Jacob's trouble, where things are going to be worse than they have been at any time in human history, that finally, when Jews have no other choice, it's either certain death or Yahweh. I'm sorry that Yahweh gets chosen that way, but that's what's going to happen. That it is the hellish nature of this time of trouble that puts their backs up against the wall, and they finally make this decision. He's bringing Elia back to work with me in that final 3.5 years. There'll be all manner of miracles with a flying scroll that is presenting this program and all of these books that you see behind me. He's going to lift the very tablets of stone to show what he etched in stone, which is so different than what people perceive them to be. I think he's going to show the Ark of the Covenant during this time. And then, of course, we're going to reach Taruw'ah, which is just this one miracle after a miracle after a miracle after a miracle. And then he's bringing every Jew in that could possibly be receptive from around the world. And then he's performing this miracle of the Adam of Parah, this bloody red man of the earth, who is a productive bull. And no, he is not a red cow. And it's following the Torah instruction of Numbers 5 that purges the religiosity out of this final remnant of Yisrael, so can be married to Dowd. And so that is worth celebrating. That is why my wife put in all of these things that you see around me and above me on this day. That's how we blow the shofar for this day. This is the 24th anniversary of our work toward fulfilling this day. And we just want you to all know about it, to celebrate it with us. It's the greatest show on earth, the greatest opportunity in human history. But there's a lot you need to do.
Yeah, and if the place weren't so flammable, I'd have sparklers in here too.
Yeah, that would be fun. But we'll not burn down the place. We'll celebrate. I even see there's stars there above my my books. Thank goodness they're not 6-pointed stars.
No.
And they're we don't want to be celebrating Bar Kokhba.
Nope,
and we have rainbows for the covenant.
Rainbows and fun stuff.
Yeah, rainbows and happiness. And it is going to be an extraordinary time.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that said, all of this known, I do want to return to where we were talking about this additional essay, that it was a prophetic narrative on this day, and it was provided by none other than the great prophet Isaiah. Isaiah is an extraordinary prophet for lots of reasons. One is that when it comes to the Choder, he's the one who detailed how to be a Choder. Well, Dowd, the king, introduced the Choder in his 14th Mashal. It was Yeshaya who devoted the 11th chapter to him, explaining how he was going to receive the 7 spirits of Yahweh and how that was going to enable him to accomplish this mission. But then the entire book is devoted to explaining how Israel should respond to the Choder, how they should recognize him by the various names.
And what he thinks of him, and Yeshayah's intellectual prowess, and the way he turns a phrase. He's has a beautiful mind, and says about this man in particular.
Yeah, he talks about
that's my guy.
Yeah, he talks about the Nakar. He talks about the Parah. He talks about the final Zahorwah. He talks about the Pei, mouth of Yahweh, the Kol, voice of God, and all of the various titles that will be ascribed to this particular mission. And he also is the one who provides us with a definitive timeline so that we know that Israel is going to be dissected over the next 8 months with a terrorist state carved out of her midst, and that it is going to be then on Shabuwa that this happens, and that come Taruw'ah, Israel is going to witness the work of the Adam of Parah and the sacrifice of the Adam of Parah to prepare this final remnant of God's people. And so throughout, we know even that, as Leah had mentioned, Yeshayah is extraordinary because God actually brought this prophet to heaven. And when he was there, God opened the door to heaven so that Yeshayah could see how many people were responding and responsive to his message, and there were none. And then Yeshayah was shown that over the next 2,700 years, there were none. And so this great prophet, this great man of God that had devoted his life to rebuking Israel's religiosity and explaining God's timeline and his plan, was devastated because you can't write more eloquently than he did, and he covered the entire swath of time and presented everything we need to know. He talked vociferously of Dowd, for example. Dowd is the child who was born, the son who was given, who is the great Gabor. Dowd is the one who is the Lamb of God who carries off the iniquity of the world. He speaks vociferously of Dowd and of the role I would play to be his herald, to reintroduce him to his people. And so Yahweh said, hey, no, Yeshayah, you're my buddy. You've done a great job. You should not feel bad about this. They did not reject you. They've rejected me all this time, but I got a guy. I got a guy. I got this under control, pal. The guy is the one that you wrote about in the 11th chapter. And let me show you what he's going to do. He is going to take your words. He's going to take the textbook you wrote on how to be the Choder, how to be the Nakar, this observant foreigner, how to be the man from Edom who saves many. He is going to take your playbook, everything you've written, and he's going to use that to be effective. He's going to make your words resonate in the minds and the souls and the hearts of Yisrael. Everything that you thought that they should have responded to, they're going to. Your words are going to be on this magnificent Nesh sign that he's going to write, and we're going to elevate. And when we do, Israel's going to respond. And so after that, and here's Yeshayah seeing this man from Edom, this Nakar, this observant foreigner, this Choder that he'd written about, actually in the wine vat with him. And Yeshayah Isaiah
tickled pink,
just goes crazy. He even says, this Zahorwah, he's my Zahorwah. He's sowing the seeds that I have planted for this harvest. He is my Zahorwah. He is in that wine vat with me. He's the guy that's dressed in red. He's going to actually save many. This is going to be glorious. And so it is so touching to see a prophet be that excited about the fulfillment. He went from prophecy.
First of all, would you consider Yeshayah to be a highly intellectual man?
Oh, his vocabulary is proof of that.
So are you aware of any highly intellectual people who are extremely emotional? No. Very unusual. We are very much of our heads. For Yeshayah to be so broken like that,
Yeah, it's great.
It's and then for him to turn around and be like, "Whew, wow, this is fantastic." Intellectuals don't have those type of
Yeah.
swings. It's something very profound here that's happening.
He realized that soaring oratory he wrote in Isaiah 9, which is probably the most famous passage about the child who was born and the son who was given. And it doesn't say that he's going to be Almighty God. He's going to be the Gabor of God,
That's right.
the strong and capable man of God, who is Dowd.
Yeah.
And even though Dowd's name is mentioned in the middle of the text, he realized that the first person that's going to actually understand that, speaking of Dowd, is this Chog.
Yeah.
And I was the first person to interpret that correctly as this Dowd. And then he wrote his second most famous soliloquy on the Passover lamb that takes away the sin of many, that our sins, our guilt is laid upon him because we, like sheep, have all gone astray. One of the great narratives ever written. He actually begins it by saying that you're never going to understand this until you know the person who introduces the Zahorwah.
Yeah,
and again, I'm the first person to acknowledge that Zahorwah is a title. That it applies to Moshe, to Dowd, who's the great Zahorwah, and finally to myself. And so the very fact that he presented that as, you want to understand this going forward, begin with coming to know the one who finally comes to recognize the identity of the Zahorwah. And so it is just filled with all of these.
He even says, who is it that knows the Zahorwah? Yeah. It is so that we are able to identify the proper authorized voice of Yahweh.
And the first time that Zahorwah is used in this context actually happens to be in the Torah. Moshe speaks of the Zahorwah. But after that, you find the Zahorwah used by Solomon. And Solomon is saying specifically that this last Zahorwah will tout the message of the great Zahorwah, his father, and that he will be the Nakri, this observant foreigner who is so essential to conveying God's message. And he goes through this whole detail of when this person's going to arrive and how he's going to speak to them, and how his message is going to come as if it were coming out of the atmosphere from the sky. And you need to listen to what he has to say and act upon it if you're going to be part of the covenant family. And he's going to reach out to Goyim and to Israelites. And this is your final opportunity. So there's a lot that has been written. I would say, since I have now found many hundreds of these prophecies, there's probably 1,000 of them. And the reason that is important is actually it's a burden for me. So I'm not telling you this because I want to brag. It's exactly the opposite. I would be much more comfortable. I could go back to Yada
being anonymous,
because then there's only upside. You have all of the enjoyment of learning 1,000 things that no one had ever seen before and getting to share them without any responsibility. It's the best of all. And if you're anonymous, you're not a target. When you're not anonymous, you are a target. And when you are called out by God to perform a very important role, there are very high expectations.
Then you become a target for every a-hole out there.
But you also are put in a position where you want to work, 14 hours a day, as long as the body holds out, 7 days a week, so that you don't disappoint God, because he's entrusted you with so much responsibility. It was the biggest shift in all of this, is doing that. And you find, while I would prefer to stay anonymous, what I prefer is irrelevant. That's what Yahweh prefers. And why does Yahweh not want this to me to be irrelevant? And that is because God's really clear in Debatim 18. What he says is, there is a test that you can use to determine whether or not someone is speaking for me.
That's right.
If I have specifically authorized them, if I've told you this person is speaking for me, then they are. If I haven't, they aren't. And so God is really clear about this role, because he wants his people to recognize that he is the power behind these words. He is the reason for the 1,000 profound insights. He is the reason why we became the first to recognize that Dowd is the Messiah, the Son of God, the former and returning king who fulfilled Pesach in 33
Not
CE.
the first, the
as our
only.
Savior. Well,
the only.
it's still yes, first and only. But
that's just the first, the
I
only.
I would gladly give up only.
Yeah, I know you would.
In a heartbeat. And it's also the person that God is really, and all these prophecies are very clear on, reintroduced Yahweh's name to his people.
Yeah.
And did so boldly. That's why all of these books are written under this. Yada means to know. It's the name that I chose. I thought I was choosing it anyway, long ago, to say, to know Yahweh. And what I found out is that Yahweh beat me to it by 3,450 years, and he uses that title prolifically. But that is our relationship. That's what we're here to do. And this is one of 35 books like this, and they're filled with all manner of amplified translations and explanations of them. This one's 825 pages, and it's one of 35.
They're not light reading, but they are delightful.
They are delightful. There's humor in them. They're profoundly important insights. They're all relevant to your life.
Poetry.
Oh,
music.
But yeah, there is. It's even feeble attempts at poetry here and there, and a number of things that are really funny. There are mic drop moments where you just say, "Oh,
yeah.
my God,
Epiphanies.
that is profound." As I say, there's 1,000 insights that have never been known. And when you realize how many sages there have been over the years that have gone over this, and with
and how many books the rabbis have produced. Wow.
And 99% of what they have written is untrue.
It's all garbage.
And now you have one guy that has well over 1,000. I mean, it could be as upwards of 10,000 profoundly important insights. Yeah. And, not his alone. It's been a collaborative effort. This is what we have done. But yet what Yahweh really wanted to emphasize is that, first of all, since there was no goy, like I did not get this job because I was tall, handsome, and good. It wasn't. I
think you're tall and handsome.
Well, I know my wife does, and that's the only person that needs to doesn't need to do anything, but I would like to think that way. I think she's beautiful too, so that works out really well for us. But the fact is that I competed against no one.
Yeah, that's true. You were running a race all by yourself.
Not only was I the only person in line when I was handing out this job, I didn't even know there was a line.
Sweetheart, you were the only one on the racetrack, and you didn't even know you were.
I was the only one on the planet that was available for this mission, and
by default you got it.
So it was totally by default. Although that's really not fair, because while it's true that God looked, and he even told Yasha'ah, listen, I looked for centuries upon century upon century, and I found no one, not one of my people that was willing to listen to what I had to say. Emphasizing the fact there was no one else, there was no competition for this particular mission. But Yahweh has a type.
Oh yeah.
And his type can change from mission to mission.
Yes.
For example, Moshe was a man of great character and conviction, and he had tremendous fortitude. But Moshe didn't have some of the skill sets that I have. I don't have some that he has. He didn't have some that I have. Dowd is the most complete package in terms of having the aptitude and attitude that God is looking for. But, obviously Yahweh found aspects of my personality that he thought were suitably bullish to fulfill the role of the final bull. And what he thought maybe I was lacking, he provided with the 7 spirits of Yahweh to get this job done. But what God wanted his people to know is that with all the rabbis lying to them and deceiving them all this time, that within the text of the Torah, prophets, and Psalms, all the answers were already there. And that he didn't have to do a data dump. He didn't have to say, all right, I'm going to give you fresh new prophecy, and there you go. Now you know everything from day one. Now you know everything. I've just done a data dump. No, what he wanted to prove is that he had already provided every answer, and they were clear, and they were obvious,
Concise.
and they were available to everyone for thousands of years, and that you did not have to have any formal training. All you had to have is the desire. If you had the desire, you could figure the entire story out from beginning to end and know exactly how the timeline was going to play out and who was going to do what, when, where, and why. And for this boy to have figured out everything that is important about God, everything, and to have included it in all of these 35 books for you and explained it with an amplified translation of what God has said, along with a comprehensive explanation of it all. It says, so why couldn't my people figure it out? How can there be a religion of Christianity that promotes the myth of a Jesus Christ when he obviously didn't exist, and when the man who invented him, Paul, never once quoted God accurately? I mean, just look at every citation that tries to justify the existence of a Jesus Christ, and you will find that Paul lied on all of them. Why is there any Christian under that basis? Why, when God said that the Messiah is Dowd, that my son is Dowd, that Dowd is going to arrive in 33 CE and he's going to fulfill Passover. And oh, by the way, he has written the only eyewitness account, and he talks about crucifixion before crucifixion even existed. Mm-hmm. And that he is the returning king, and he's going to come back with me as brilliant as the sun. If God says everything you need to know, and it is 100% contrary to the lies of Christianity, and Christianity claims that the Torah, prophets, and Psalms spoke of their guy when he's not mentioned, and that Dowd is Yahweh's guy, why is there a single Christian? How did Christianity last a nanosecond, much less to fool 2.5 billion people today?
I know.
Why?
Because we love religion.
No, people love lies more than the truth.
We do. We love a lie.
I mean, to have Donald Trump sit up there and lie to people to great applause. And
the more he lies, the more they love him.
Tucker Carlson sit there and lie all the more.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody.
The whole lie of Fakestein.
A man who lied to them for his 33 years. You just go, oh, my God.
How about
lies are believed 1,000,000 to 1 over the truth. But God wanted to prove that the truth was knowable. And, the interesting thing is that on this mission, we ought not be stressed out, because God's an introvert. He is not looking for a lot of people. The very fact that Christianity and Islam are popular means that they aren't the path to God. God is very selective. And the second statement that he etched in stone, where he told us, under no circumstances should you be religious.
No.
Religion, very bad. He said that it was thousands that would benefit from what he is offering. And those who closely examine and carefully consider the terms and conditions of the covenant will receive that mercy. 1 in 1,000 amongst billions is 1 in 1,000,000. So it's going to be very few. Heaven is not going to be crowded. And, our job is to make certain that the answers are known at this moment, so that everyone who has the right attitude and aptitude has the opportunity to be part of God's family. The majority will attack what we're saying, because that's what they have done for year after year, and nothing is going to change.
No, I hear the Nest is getting very popular with that too.
Mm-hmm.
It's popular to trash us.
Yep. So here we are. So this reads, incline your ear and walk to me. There's only one path. The Pesach, Matzah, Bakurim, Shabuwa, Taruw'ah, Kapurim, and Sukkah.
7-step dance.
So incline your ear and walk to me. Mm-hmm. Choose to actually listen, Shema, so that your soul may continue to exist. Don't pray. Don't yabber at God. listen to what he has to say. And you want to listen to what he has to say? Do what I'm doing right now. Read God's prophetic testimony. Then I will cut you into establishing for you Karat, the everlasting covenant. Before I move on, the covenant was Karat.
Cut.
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 Karat means not only cut, but it can mean uproot. It can mean kill. It can mean
A knife's edge.
Knife edge. It is to cut. And it's tied to, of course, circumcision, where you cut the
That's
foreskin.
right.
But when you speak of cut, you can be cut into and cut out of.
That's right.
We know that it's 1 in a million, so most are going to be cut out of. And those who are cut out of are going to die. The covenant is not about inclusion. It's about exclusion.
That's right.
And everyone who is religious and political will be excluded. Everyone who is militant will be excluded. All conspiratorialists will be excluded. Everyone who is anti-Semitic will be excluded. So it is a dividing line.
See you later, haters.
You're either in or you're out, and very, very few people are in.
Yeah.
So then I will cut, establishing for you the everlasting covenant. How many covenants are there? Is Berith? Yeah, that's right. She's got one finger up.
One.
Is Berith ever written in the plural?
Absolutely not.
So there's never a second covenant.
No.
As a matter of fact, God says in the 89th Mizmor that I will never split my covenant in two. I will never have a second one. I'm never going to.
I'm not going to change my mind.
Any aspect of this one, there's one covenant, period. And if you say, well, what about Jeremiah 31? Jeremiah 31 talks about a new covenant. No, it doesn't talk about a new covenant. It talks about the reaffirmation of the existing covenant.
That's right.
And oh, by the way, it ain't with the church.
No,
it's with Yisrael and Yehudim. Read the context that he's going to reaffirm his covenant with Yisrael and Yehudim. Oh, but it says it's going to be different than that old one. No, what it says is that it's going to be different than when Yahweh drug the irascible, antagonistic, malcontent children of Israel out of Mitzrayim to the promised land, where he said they were so belligerent and so stupid, all I could do is yank them by the hand. He says, I'm not going to do that again. That's where he says is the only difference. You can't come kicking and screaming. He ain't going to drag you this time.
Nope.
And that experience was awful for Yahweh. I mean, it was miserable. It was just an unmitigated disaster. And he says, this time it ain't going to be that way. Nope. This time I'm going to have.
You're either going to come on your own free will or not.
I got a guy. He's going to tell you the terms and conditions of the covenant. You're either going to come willingly or you're not going to come at all. That's just the deal.
You got the RSVP.
And then just to completely destroy the myth of Christianity, he says, oh, by the way, the thing that will also be different is I'm going to write a copy of my Torah, my teaching and guidance inside of them. So rather than going to a New Testament or rather than going to a Talmud, no, it's the Torah that is integrated, God's guidance that is integrated into our very fabric of our lives. So when you realize that the audience is Yisraelite and Yehudim, that it's reestablished and renewed, not a new covenant, that the only difference is I'm not dragging you kicking and screaming.
That's right.
Because you were miserable during the Exodus. And as a result, I'm going to write a copy of my Torah teaching inside of you. And oh, by the way, it's going to preclude you from being religious ever again.
So no church. Sorry, haters.
Nope. No Gentiles, no Romans, no Greeks.
No.
Jeremiah 31 destroys Christianity.
Yeah, it does.
So only one covenant. Always one covenant. Now, covenant
God,
is
one
an interesting
people.
term. It's berith. It is only one letter removed from Be'eth.
Yes.
Be'eth means family and home.
Mm-hmm.
And so berith is the family and home of the observant individual. The only difference in the words is the Rosh, which is
an observant intuition,
and vigilant,
yes.
thoughtful,
Yeah.
and observant,
A thinking
individual.
man,
a thinking person, right? So God says. So after he says to you, incline your ear so that you can walk to me. Choose to actually listen, so that your soul may continue to exist. Because I'm going to cut you into establishing for you an everlasting family relationship, a covenant, which is affirmed and verified. Aman, confirmed and enduring, made dependable and steadfast, with unremitting love and unfailing devotion by Dowd.
Mm-hmm. I wrote a song about that.
I've done my job.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I've done my job. That is my job. I shouldn't have to say anything more. The covenant was established by the great compassion and love, and it was verified by Dowd, which means he explained that he was going to fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim. How do I know that? Because the covenant has 5 benefits. And those 5 benefits are eternal life, being perfected, being adopted into the covenant family, being enriched and empowered. What are the 5 benefits of Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim? Pesach opens the door to life. Matzah takes our guilt and takes it away, so we're perfected by God. On Bikurim, we are adopted into the covenant family, and we're told specifically that there is a 10-fold enrichment and empowerment. Case over.
Yep.
Dowd enabled Chog Matzah, Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim to enable the 5 benefits of the covenant. And so the covenant was verified. It was validated with the compassion and great love of Dowd to fulfill Pesach and Matzah, where he was bludgeoned by the Romans, crucified on Passover, and then carried our guilt into hell so that it would be deposited there, never to be seen again. And this was all done by Dowd. It was not done by Jesus.
Hell no.
It was done by Dowd, God's beloved son.
There
the
is
Messiah,
no
the King,
Jesus.
which means that happened during his second of 3 lives.
Yes.
This explains everything. This is why the prophet Yeshayah is so profoundly important for you to know, appreciate, and love. He just told you that the covenant is enabled by, the covenant is verified by, the covenant was established through love by Dowd. And that if you listen to him and you walk to him along this path that he has provided, Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim, you will benefit from this covenant that was established and verified by Dowd.
And gee whiz, doesn't it make sense that his name is beloved?
I mean,
I hate to be Captain Obvious
there
here.
should not have to be another word spoken.
No. So we can shut down the show?
I think so.
All right, let's do
That's
that.
a wonderful celebration
Yeah.
of Taruw'ah. That's the purpose of Taruw'ah, is to communicate this message.
Dowd is the one.
Dowd is my king.
Yes.
He is my brother.
Mm.
He is my savior. He is my shepherd. He is my teacher. He is the man that I have come to respect and love. He is the one that I serve. And you should view him exactly the same way. He is the most beloved man by God, the one that God chose, the one that God set apart, the one that God anointed as the Messiah, the one God specifically called out and said, he is my son, I am his father, the one that God said, he is returning with me as brilliant as the sun, as the very hand of God.
Mm-hmm. And there it is, folks.
And yet you have a religion that is based upon lying about stealing Dowd's reputation, his achievements, his accolades. Nothing is more antagonizing to God. God despises Christianity. In fact, he calls Paul, that created the myth of Jesus, the very plague of death. And he wrote his condemnation of Paul, calling him out by name 666 years before Paul perpetrated this fraud in 52 CE. And you can't exonerate Judaism because Rabbi Akiva created Judaism based upon another false Messiah, that one Bar Kokhba. So between Jews and Christians and Muslims, all they have done is to destroy what should be known and celebrated by, what Yahweh achieved in collaboration with his beloved son, Dowd. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful Taruw'ah.